I'm going to walk you through one of the most underrated, but honestly, one of the most essential parts of building AI agents: evaluations. Before we jump into the feature, I want to quickly explain why evaluations matter so much. When we are building AI agents, like the travel agent I'm using in this example, we can't just rely on agents giving pretty good answers. People use this agent to plan real trips, make real decisions. So the information it has to provide has to be reliable, grounded in the data that's been given to it, as well as accurate. That's where evaluations comes in. Evaluations gives us a structured way to measure how well the agent is performing. Checking things like, is the agent sticking to the knowledge base? Is it answering the question that was actually asked to it? What is the tone that the agent is using to respond to all of its questions? Without these checks, it's really hard to know whether the agent is behaving correctly, especially as it scales to thousands of conversations. Evaluations basically lets you simulate all of these conversations automatically and pinpoint where the agent is strong and where the agent needs improvement. All right, with that said, let's get into the actual demo. Here, I've set up a travel agent with a set of Hawaiian itineraries as its knowledge base. It can create custom trips, answer specific questions about things to do, where to stay, and how much each activity costs. You can go into the playground tab and play around with the agent, asking it questions for it to respond to. Before we get into evaluations, I always recommend turning on traces and log insights within the observability tab. I've already done so, and hence you can see this view log stream insights already active in here. Doing this makes reviewing evaluation results much clearer and makes the whole evaluation experience much more effective. With that, let's move on to the evaluations tab. In this tab, you will is what you would use to create a test case and test your agent or evaluate your agent. Let's begin with creating a test case. A test case is basically what defines what you want to evaluate. We support a bunch of test case goals, as you can see here, being correctness, user outcomes, safety and security, context quality. Each of these test case goals have metrics included within them. For example, correctness includes general hallucinations, context completeness, etc. You have an ability to select all of the underlying metrics by selecting a specific test case goal or customizing the test case that you would want to run. In this scenario, we've got correctness selected. I can go ahead and also add instruction following, user progress goals, toxicity, and tone. So I've not selected all of the test cases under each of these test case goals, but certain custom metrics that I want to test or evaluate my agent against. Go ahead and save your metrics, and it creates a custom test case. Um, you then next need to actually select your star metric. In this scenario, it defaults to general hallucination as one of the star metrics. I'm going to go ahead and select instruction following. Star metric is the metric against which your agent will evaluation will be judged if an evaluation has passed or an evaluation has failed. Next, we put in the star metric threshold. I usually leave it to 80. That's the score, the evaluation score beyond which we would consider an evaluation to be passed or an evaluation to be failed. Next, the most important part of a test case, which is adding a data set. Um, Usually, data sets are CSVs full of questions we want to test an agent on. Once that's uploaded, you can start running an evaluation, at which point each question within the dataset would be tested against your agent. The easiest way to do that would be to upload a CSV. Here, I've already got a CSV, which is the agent evaluation set.csv, which I'm going to upload as part of my evaluation over here. Um, if you are a bit confused on how to create these CSVs or these data sets, a very good resource would be to go into our documentation or PDocs and see a few examples that have been provided in terms of the questions you can ask. And if you've specifically selected the ground truth metric within the correctness test goals, then you the exact format that you need the CSV to be. So this is really good resource. All right. With that, let's put in our test case name. And you can go ahead and just create the test case. It should take you a few seconds for the test case to be created. Once the test case is created, you have an option to go straight and run an evaluation. Click on run evaluation. It opens the run evaluation form. Here, since we've only got one agent within the workspace, it defaults to that particular agent. But if you had multiple agents, it will give you a drop down to decide which agent to evaluate. We select the test case that we want to evaluate it against. I'm just going to do test case one right now. Put in the run name. All right, click on run evaluation. All right. Usually an evaluation will take some time to run. Um, what I'm going to do is show you one of the previous evaluations that I had run so that you can see how a complete evaluation looks like. Here, as once the evaluation is complete, you will be able to see your average scores against all of the categories or test goals and the individual metrics. Here, my star metric was user outcomes with instruction following, which has an average score of 33.33%, which means my evaluation did not pass because my pass fail threshold was 80%. What I can do next is actually go into the prompts and see how each prompt or each question from within the dataset performed. What was the response that the agent provided? Here, in particular, let's actually dive a bit deep into prompt 3 and see what's going on there. So we put in an input of what is the entry fee to Hanuma Bay. The agent responded with a certain response, and we had a ground truth expected response of what of this answer that the agent should be responding with. Since the agent response was a little more verbose and hallucinated to provide more information outside of what should have been the expected response, the instruction following score is 6.67. You can actually do one of two things here. You can go into the actual metric and see what the AI judge recommends and why a score of 6.67 was provided. I just gave you the reason right above that. The other thing that you can also do, which is really cool, is on the right, look at each chunk from the knowledge base that the agent sourced and decided to use or not use. So that also provides you some context in terms of where this agent is trying to derive this information from. One third resource that you can use is also going into the actual traces. So clicking on view traces takes you to this particular click out experience where you can see the actual agent trace. You can in most scenarios also see the exact chunks that you saw on the previous screen, as well as what the complete input with your agent instructions was to the agent and what was the output that was provided. In this particular scenario, one thing I would recommend to do to improve this instruction following scores is to actually go and update the agent instructions to clearly specify that the agent needs to only look at the knowledge base and not try and source any information from its own external knowledge. Thank you.